story for God to get the glory and to help other people out on this journey. Because I do realize that the things that we go through is not for ourselves, but it is to help other people. And I've been through some things, and there's everyone in this room, we have a story to tell. Now it's on you, whether you tell it, how you tell it, and if God releases you to tell that. He released me to tell that. And when I was writing this book, there were some things I was like, God, you really want me to put that in here? Because I don't want people to judge me.
Yeah.
Because the people that knew me, some of the things I put in that book, they'd be like, no, she didn't. Yeah, I did. Right? And so I was worried about that. And I heard God say, you know what? It's not about you being judged by your story, but it's about the breakthroughs that's going to come through your story. And that's what it's about. So my story starts at 6 months old. I was 6 months old, of course I don't remember this, but I know at 7 years old, and I'll get to that, but my first chapter in the book is called What She Didn't Know. And I said at the end is what she didn't know is that she birthed purpose and she gave life twice, right? And the she that I'm referring to is the mother or the woman that gave birth to me. And that's what I refer to her as, the woman that gave birth to me. Because I don't know her to be my mother. But in this space that I'm in right now, the older that I am so thankful for her. Now, yeah, back in my younger days, I was going to give her a piece of my mind. Like, how in the world could you do those things that you did to me? What were you thinking, right? But I'm not even in that space anymore, but she didn't know that. And so at 6 months old, I was found in a 12-foot tub with plastic over it. And that's probably why to this day, and I didn't know this until I found all this out about me, but I cannot stand tubs that are not attached to the wall. That is a trigger, it's whatever. You know, it could be like the most beautiful bathroom, but if the tub is not attached, like, it's not for me, right? So that's how I was found at 6 months old. So where this lady's mind was, or wasn't for that matter, yeah, we'll just go with that, right? So the police found me. I was very malnourished. So I ended up in foster care in New York. That's where I was born. I was born in New York, and I ended up in foster care from 6 months to 4 years old. Now, in my mind, I'm thinking foster care is like, you guys remember that movie Like Mike with Bow Wow? So they was living in like a home with all the other. That's what I thought foster care was, right? I didn't realize that foster care basically was you being passed around from home to home until somebody wanted to adopt you. So I have no idea how many homes I was passed around to until I found the home. So the home that was for me is the parents that I know now, right? But I do know there was a young lady who did decide that she wanted to adopt me, and a couple months later or so, they found out that she had sexually molested a patient, and it said Tamika Shante Scriber. And I thought, well, my last name is Delbar, but I don't be it anyway because I'm nosy. I want to know things. So I read this paper, and it said Tamika Shante Scriber, sexual molestation. I was like, what is that? Now I could read because I could sound out. Hooked on is real good. I could sound that out, but I didn't know what that meant. So I remember going down to the den, and I was like, what does sexual molestation mean? And the look on my cousin's face was like, where in the world did you get that from? And my mother was in there at the time too. And instead of her being like, where'd you get that from? You know better, don't read something, don't. She wasn't like that. She instantly took me and said, this is what this means, and you were adopted, and this is why. After I got through that phase, then I went through who could be the one that gave birth to me? Like every time I look around, you never know, right? I just never know. Being adopted, I could relate to someone in here, and we just don't know it. So in my mind, I was like, well, Oprah could be my mom. Even Ricky Lake. Don't ask why I seriously did think that. But you know, why not, right? Because I had no idea. So I went through all of that, right? I went through the whole identity thing, trying to figure out who I was and why could someone like that do something like that to me. At 4 years old, they said that my cognitive skills and all the other skills that you have, I was only operating on an 18-month-old level. I wasn't even speaking at 4 years old. They told my mother, and I hate this word to this day, but they told her that I would be mentally retarded. Those were the words on that paper. And she was like, she's not going to accept that, and she didn't. So she made sure that I got all the help that I needed, and I can speak pretty well now. So it's all right. That's why I said that she not only gave me life, but she birthed purpose twice, because I was meant to be in that realm during that time of my life. And then God saw fit for me to be with the family that I am now. At 15 years old, my mom drops me off at this hotel, and I'm like, yeah, deuces, I'm about to go to a hotel, you know what I'm saying? I'm, living my best life at 15 years old, okay? So I don't remember what happened in the hotel that night. All I remember is the very next morning, my sponsor, her name is Miss Pat Gavin. I don't know if you know her or knew her. Miss Pat Gavin, she was my sponsor. She woke me up that morning and she said, we need to get you to the hospital because your father's in the hospital. And I was like, again? Seriously, that's what I thought. He worked at Bosch. He was always in and out of the hospital, back injuries. He ran a club as well. So I was like, oh man, okay, let's do this. He's in and out. So we get to the car, And she says, I'm sorry, it's not your father, it's your mother. From that hotel to the hospital, it's only not even 10 minutes. But in my mind, that was the longest ride ever. And I don't think I've ever had a prayer so long in my life from that day. I prayed from the time we left that hotel parking lot to that hospital because mommy didn't go into the hospital. So now not only that's happening, but now my family is starting to come home. I'm like, what is really going on? Because my brothers, they always came home for holidays and things like that. But on a drop of a dime, my niece is coming in from New York. Like everybody was just starting to come in all of a sudden. And I'm like, what is going on? That was on a Saturday. Well, they found that she had 2 aneurysms and a stroke. And so on that Sunday, she had to have surgery to have the aneurysms removed. I went to church on a keyboard, and the pastor called for altar call. Guys, I think I jumped over the banister to get down there. I think I was the first one there. The entire church came down. I remember that. The entire church came down. They all stood around me. We all prayed. And after that prayer went out, I remember the doors of the church opening, and my brothers walked through the church. My mother had survived that surgery that she wasn't supposed to survive on that Sunday. They had removed 2 aneurysms. It's Tuesday morning, I wake up March 25th, 1997, and I was in high school, I was a freshman in high school, and I lived across the street from the Daniels, and I wanted them to take me to school that morning. They were 2 seniors, and when I missed the bus, they would take me. So I called, and I was like, hey, Aunt Cynthia, can CJ and Delvin take me to school? And she said no. She never told me no. Anytime I ever needed a ride, it was always, sure, be ready. But this particular morning, she said, no, I think you need to stay and wait for your dad to get home. I'm like, why? Okay. Then after that phone call, I get another phone call from my big sister, Nadia. She's like, I need you to pray right now, sis. Pray for what? I had no clue what was going on, but I began to pray. Shortly after, my father and my godmom walks across the yard. My father comes in, and he says, your mother passed away this morning. That moment, and even now, it's like I was in a trance. Like everything around me was going on, but I was just at a standstill. Because I'm like, not my mom. And then that's when all became reality. 15 years old, and I'm out here with no mom. The only mother that I knew, right? And I always felt like my brothers had so much more time with them because they were a lot older than I was. And so every memory, even now, I'm 41 years old, but I hold on to every memory so tight because I don't want to get older and forget, right? So I'm 15 and that happens to me. I graduated high school, kind of my high school graduation. I was class secretary, had to speak at my high school graduation, and now I'm off going to college. And by this time, my dad was dead. Here I am at 20 years old. My mom passed away and my dad passed away. And I often say that at 13 years old, you could have sat me down and said, listen, by the time you turn 20, both of your parents are going to be deceased. But you're going to still be able to navigate your way through because God still has a plan and a purpose for you. So yeah, it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt years later. But I'm telling you, if you just stand firm, you stay up planted, there's some other things you're going to go through too. But if you just trust me, I got you. You're going to tell me that. Because see, the second chapter of my book is called Hand Me My Straight Jacket. Because that's where I should have been, with some padded walls. Because all of that, just that alone, not to mention all the other stuff that I wrote about, you got to be kidding me. I told you before that we all have to go through that breaking. It's necessary for the promise, right? And so when you find yourself in it, you just got to remember you can't stay there, right? You have to know that I got to move forward because there's a plan and it's bigger than me. And because you go out and you step out and do the very thing that God has called you to do, it is linked to somebody else's breakthrough. So your obedience is so important. So you got to keep moving. You got to keep going. Let me tell you, you can't look at what it looked like, okay? You can't do that. You got to keep moving forward. And so that is why I'm here. That's part of my journey, to keep moving forward. Because there's going to be some other things that hit me too. But you know, I got to play the Matrix, you know what I'm saying? And kind of dodge that thing and say, all right, what's next? And that's something that my mother instilled in me. When I tried out for cheerleading in middle school after cheering all these years of Pop Warner, and I tried out in middle school and didn't make it, I was like, how would I not make the squad? I mean, I knew the teacher didn't like me because she was my 6th grade teacher, and she was like, that guy in that car. My mother said, okay, so what's next? Those were the words to me. And so every time I go through something, that's my thought process. Okay, what's next? Right? And so for me, I went out on track and field because you couldn't get cut. And I actually turned out it worked. But I didn't make the high school shooting squad. That's where it matters, right? No. There you go, right? And so that's what I did. So that's my focus. It's what's next. Yeah, we all get broken for things that we go through, but we can't stay in that. We got to think about what's next. Where's God trying to take us? What are we trying to learn from this so that we can help other people on this journey? So our journey is to help other people. And again, thank you so much for this opportunity.